Welcome to Teolumen Insights, where we reveal the hidden forces that shape the way you live and show you how to use them to create real transformation and supercharge your health, mindset, and daily life. Here are your hosts, Emma Greenwood and Nathan Sinclaire.
Welcome back to Teolumen Insights, folks. Ready for a deep dive into a real head-scratcher? We're talking water memory today.
Oh yeah, water memory.
The idea that water somehow remembers the stuff that's been dissolved in it, even when it's been diluted so much, like there shouldn't be any trace left.
Right. Like way past the point where you'd think anything's actually there anymore.
Exactly. Defies some pretty basic chemistry, right?
Oh, for sure. It sparked, well, a whole lot of debate. Controversy too, really.
Big time. So to navigate this pretty wild world, we're focusing on Jacques Benveniste, French immunologist. His research, especially on what he called digital biology, really shook things up.
Yeah, digital biology.
So for those just joining us, what exactly is water memory, and why should we even care?
Okay, well, imagine this. You drop like a single drop of ink into a swimming pool. You stir it up, right? The ink spreads out, gets diluted. Eventually, you can't even see it anymore.
Right, gone. Just water.
Right. So common sense says the ink is gone.
Makes sense.
But the folks who believe in this water memory thing, they'd say, no, the water remembers. Even without any ink molecules left, something, some energy, some structure, it hangs around.
Okay, I'm seeing why it's controversial.
Yeah.
But Cosmon, why should anyone believe this? What's the evidence?
Well, that's where Benveniste comes in. Starts out as a respected immunologist, made some big discoveries, especially with allergies.
Right.
But then the 1980s hit, he starts messing around with super diluted stuff, seeing how it affects living things.
And that's when things got interesting.
Oh, yeah. And controversial, too.
I've heard this research even had some ties to homeopathy.
Right.
Which, well, a lot of scientists are pretty skeptical about that. What was he actually looking into?
So Benveniste and his team, they were studying basophils.
Basophils?
Yeah, white blood cells, part of the immune system. They react during allergies.
Right.
They exposed these basophils to, like, crazy diluted antibodies, the kind where statistically there shouldn't be an antibody left.
So basically impossible for them to still be reacting, right?
Right. But they did. Even at those dilutions, the basophils still reacted.
Wow. So even though the antibodies were, like, gone, the basophils were acting like they were still there.
Exactly. And here's the even weirder part. It wasn't a simple reaction, like more stuff, bigger reaction.
Okay.
They saw this up and down pattern. Strong reaction at one dilution, nothing at the next, then boom, another peak a few dilutions later. It's like the water remembered at some points, but then forgot at others.
Huh. Fascinating. But I bet this didn't go over well with everyone.
Oh, you think? When Benveniste published this in Nature, big journal, 1988, the scientific world, uproar.
Makes sense. I mean, groundbreaking or not, it challenges like a lot of assumptions. I'm guessing there's more to this story than just, hey, look what we found. What happened?
Okay, so the scientific community, not exactly thrilled about this whole water memory thing.
I imagine.
Benveniste got hit with accusations, flawed methods, and of course, the good old experimenter effect.
Ah, yes. For our listeners who aren't scientists, what's the experimenter effect?
Yeah.
And why is it such a big deal in research?
So the experimenter effect, it's the idea that a researcher, without even meaning to, can influence the results, their expectations, their biases. It all kind of sneaks in.
So basically, in this case, they were so sure water memory was real, they might have interpreted their data to fit that, even if it wasn't actually there.
Yeah, that's the worry.
Makes sense.
And this is where reproducibility becomes huge. Other labs try to copy Benveniste, see if they get the same results. But things are inconsistent. More criticism, more doubt. And this is where Benveniste's story gets even more interesting.
No.
Instead of backing down, he goes deeper, doubles down on water memory, and comes up with this whole new theory, digital biology.
Digital biology. Now you've got my attention. What is that?
Well, he starts exploring this idea, maybe the important information, the stuff causing the biological activity. It's not in the molecules anymore.
Okay.
It's in electromagnetic signals. Somehow they're imprinted in the water.
So he's saying water's like a computer, recording and playing back information.
Exactly, like a liquid recording medium. It can capture the specific electromagnetic frequencies given off by molecules.
So even when you dilute something so much that physically there's nothing left, The water's still holding on to the electromagnetic signature of that thing.
Exactly. And to test this, he starts using electronic circuits, trying to record these signals from a substance, then play them back to pure water, see if it causes the same effects.
Wait, so he's recording the essence of a molecule, like recording a song, and then playing it back to water, making the water act like the molecule's still there.
You got it. That was the idea. And according to Benveniste, some of the results were pretty amazing.
Okay, I'm hooked. What kind of experiments did he do to back up this digital biology theory?
Well, one of his most famous involved transmitting these recordings over phone lines.
Phone lines.
Yep. He said he could record the signal of a substance, like a hormone, send that recording to another lab, somewhere else entirely, and then play that signal to pure water there.
Hold on. Information. Through water. Over phone lines. That sounds like science fiction. Did it even work?
Benveniste and his team said yes. They reported seeing biological effects in that other lab, even though nothing physical was sent. They tested it on all sorts of things, from guinea pig hearts to blood clotting, and they claimed the changes matched what you'd see with the original substances. It was a bold claim. You can imagine tons of skepticism. Most scientists, they basically said, nope, this is pseudoscience, especially that whole thing about transmitting info over phone lines.
So where do we go from here? We've got this super intriguing research. It shakes up what we think we know about science, but it's also got all this controversy and doubt swirling around it. What are we supposed to make of all this?
Well, if you're open to the possibility that, maybe there's something to this water memory thing, there are a few things to keep in mind. Even Benveniste's biggest critics, they admitted he was a good scientist. Solid track record.
So it's not like he was just making stuff up or trying to trick people.
Right.
We've got this respected scientist reporting these wild results, and then the scientific community basically shuts him down, says it's bad science, maybe even fraud.
Yeah.
I can see why some people would think there's more to the story.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to look at the evidence carefully, but, keep an open mind. Remember, scientific progress often means challenging the stuff everyone thinks is true, considering new ideas, even if they sound weird at first.
So if we say, okay, maybe there's something real here, what could explain these results? Is there any way water could actually have a memory? Some mechanism that makes sense?
That's the big question. Benveniste was all about electromagnetic signals, but some researchers have come up with different models, ones that maybe fit better with what we already know about physics and chemistry.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting involves nanostructures in water.
Nanostructures. So like tiny structures forming within the water itself. What do those have to do with memory?
It's all about these water pearls. They're thought to be nanoparticles, little spheres, and they might have these special properties that let them store and transmit information. These water pearls, they're believed to be ferroelectric.
Okay, you lost me. Ferroelectric. What's that? And how does it relate to water memory?
Imagine a magnet. A ferroelectric material is similar, but instead of magnetism, it has a permanent electric polarization, like a tiny electric dipole. The key thing is these water pearls, they can form chains, and these chains, they can resonate at specific frequencies, kind of like a string of beads vibrating at a certain tone.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this. So if you got a molecule, it's got its own unique charge distribution, its own vibration, it enters the water, gives off this electromagnetic signal at a specific frequency. That could make a chain of water pearls resonate at that same frequency. Like the water pearls are picking up the molecule's unique song.
Exactly. And even after the molecule is gone, those chains of water pearls could keep resonating, emitting that same frequency. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to cause similar biological effects, like the water is holding onto a blueprint of the original substance.
That is mind-blowing. But it still sounds like a long shot. How could something like water hold on to such complex information, even if it is in the form of these nanostructures?
Well, that's where things get even wilder. Some researchers think the process of succussion might be super important here.
Succussion. Another new word. What's that?
It's a special way of shaking, really vigorously. It's often used in homeopathy. The idea is that this shaking gives the energy needed to assemble these water pearl chains, and maybe even break them apart, creating more starting points for new chains. Basically, amplifying the signal.
So the more you shake it, the more memory the water can hold.
That's one way to think about it. It's still just a hypothesis, though. Remember, all of this is highly speculative. We don't have definitive proof yet. But it's a fascinating line of research. It could explain some of the stranger aspects of water memory.
Okay, so we've got Benveniste's controversial findings, then this water pearl theory. Maybe these tiny structures in water are holding the memory, and shaking it somehow boosts that memory. Where does that leave us? Anything else that could explain his results?
Well, some scientists have gone even further, bringing in the weird world of quantum mechanics.
Quantum mechanics. Now we're really going down the rabbit hole. How could something like quantum entanglement, which is about subatomic particles, be relevant to water memory?
It's a fringe idea, definitely, but some researchers say, what if water molecules, or maybe those water pearl structures, can get entangled with the original substance? Then information about that substance could stick around even after you dilute it like crazy. It's like creating this invisible link between the water and the original molecule, no matter how far apart they get.
So you dilute something until there's basically nothing left, but this entanglement could still let the water remember it.
That's the theory. It's a wild concept. Lots of debate about whether it's even physically possible, especially at the level of molecules and water clusters.
Sounds like we're venturing into science fiction territory here.
Yeah.
Is there any evidence to support this entanglement idea?
There have been some interesting studies, but nothing conclusive. One big one was done by Luc Montagnier. He won a Nobel Prize, part of the team that discovered HIV. He and his colleagues, they said they could detect these super low-frequency electromagnetic signals coming from extremely diluted DNA solutions.
So they're picking up signals from DNA. Even when it's so diluted, there shouldn't be any molecules left.
That's what they said. And get this, they claimed they could send these signals over the internet, use them to rebuild the original DNA sequence in pure water somewhere else entirely.
Wait. They're sending the blueprint for DNA over the internet and using it to make new DNA somewhere else. That's like straight out of Star Trek.
It does, doesn't it? But as you can probably guess, this research got a lot of pushback. Many scientists said the signals were too weak to matter biologically, and there's no way those signals could carry enough information to rebuild an entire DNA sequence.
So another case of fascinating but controversial results. Hard to explain with what we know about science. It seems like there's this constant tension between these amazing claims and the lack of solid proof.
That's the thing about exploring the edges of science. We see these intriguing hints, these tantalizing possibilities, but we don't always have the tools or the understanding to really grasp them. But that's what makes this whole field so exciting. It forces us to think beyond what we think we know, to question our limits.
It feels like we've just dipped our toes into this whole water memory thing. But if it's real, the implications are huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it could totally change how we see biology, chemistry, physics even. So let's shift gears a bit. What about the practical stuff? What could we do with water memory if it works?
Good point. If water can really hold and transfer biological information, like Benveniste and others say, it could revolutionize things like medicine and agriculture.
In what way?
Think about it. Treating diseases, helping plants grow, not with chemicals, but with energy signals imprinted in water.
Wow. That sounds almost too good to be true. Is anyone actually looking into those applications?
It's early days, yeah. A lot of this research is still kind of out there, not mainstream. But there's some interesting things happening. Some agriculture researchers, they're experimenting with treating seeds and crops with water that's been, informed with certain frequencies or electromagnetic patterns.
Informed.
Yeah, they claim they're seeing better yields, crops that are more resistant to pests and diseases.
So you're basically giving the plants a boost with these energy signals in the water, like a pep talk, but in water molecule form. What about medical uses? Any examples of water memory being used to actually treat diseases?
There are a few researchers exploring that, yeah. Using informed water in homeopathy specifically, they believe you can imprint water with the energetic signatures of different remedies, then use that water to kind of kickstart the body's own healing abilities.
Right. But like we talked about earlier, homeopathy is still pretty controversial. A lot of scientists aren't convinced it really works.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like the Wild West of medicine right now.
Yeah.
Tons of potential, but got to be careful. Rigorous scientific testing is key.
Absolutely.
Any other possible uses for water memory that people are exploring?
One that's really interesting is cleaning up the environment. Some researchers are looking into whether you can program water to break down pollutants and toxins.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. It could be a much cleaner, more sustainable way to deal with contaminated water sources.
That would be incredible. Cleaning up oil spills, toxic waste sites, all by treating the water with specific energy signals. It sounds like science fiction.
It does, right. But that's what's so cool about water memory research. It pushes us to think outside the box, to imagine this future where we can use nature's hidden powers in ways we never even considered before.
So even if a lot of the stuff about water memory turns out to be wrong, just trying to figure it out is still super valuable.
Yeah.
It makes us question what we think we know, explore new things, and imagine what might be possible.
Definitely. And who knows, along the way, we might stumble across some totally new scientific discoveries, new technologies, things we never expected.
Right. Speaking of unexpected discoveries, earlier we were talking about the controversy with Benveniste's research and how hard it's been to replicate his findings. Have there been any attempts to explain his results using, more traditional scientific ideas?
Oh yeah, for sure. Some scientists think Benveniste might have been observing things like electromagnetic fields or subtle changes in how water behaves at those super high dilutions. They say even if there are no actual molecules left, their presence could still change the water's structure or energy in some way. And that could be what's affecting biological systems.
So not memory in the usual sense, but more like these subtle physical changes that stick around even after the substance is gone, like the water's carrying a faint echo of what used to be there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it's important to remember even these more traditional explanations still challenge how we think about water. We tend to think of it as simple, inactive, but there's more and more evidence that it's way more complex and dynamic than we realize.
It seems like the more we learn about water, the more mysterious it gets. And this whole idea of water memory, whether or not it turns out to be scientifically valid, it definitely shows us how much we don't know and how important it is to keep exploring, keep an open mind in science.
I totally agree. Water memory research, even with all the debate and uncertainty, it has the potential to totally change how we see the world. It could inspire a whole new generation of scientists to dig deeper into the mysteries that are still out there.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of water memory, a fascinating and perplexing world it is. I hope this has left you with as much wonder and curiosity as it has us. Thanks for joining us on Teolumen Insights. Until next time, keep those minds open and keep those questions coming.
And don't forget to take another look at that glass of water. Who knows what secrets it might be holding?
This is Nathan Sinclaire, signing off for Teolumen Insights.
And Emma Greenwood, wishing you all a wonderfully curious week.